Welcome to the Sweet Success Program. This is week 5 of the Sweet Success Program. Today's presenter is Shanna Watt. She works at North Kansas City Hospital, and she is here to present exercise and diabetes. She has some great tips on management, and any questions you have, she'll be happy to answer. So I'll hand it over to you, Shanna.
Thank you, Linda. So I am really excited to be here with you guys today, and exercise is one of my most favorite topics. So we will, like Linda mentioned, be talking about exercise and diabetes and how they work together. So let's just recap a little bit. I'm sure you guys have heard this, but let's go over it. So your body produces a hormone called insulin, which moves sugar from your blood to your cells. Now, if you have too much sugar in your blood, then your cells cannot absorb sugar as well as they should. This is called insulin resistance and is one cause of high blood sugar and high A1C levels. Exercise is a reliable way to bring your A1C levels down because it helps jumpstart your body's natural insulin activity. So think of it like a sponge. The bigger the sponge is, the more it can accept water, right? So your muscles are kind of the same thing. Your muscles accept the insulin, and the bigger your muscles are, the more insulin they can accept. So the number one thing about exercise is it is important to be safe. I would never tell you to go out and start exercising without taking some precautions, okay? That's how people get hurt. So you need to talk to your doctor before you start your program, and you need to go over your list of medications and ask how exercise will have an effect on the medications, or how the medications will have effect on exercise. So if you're taking insulin or other medications that can cause low blood sugar, like hypoglycemia, you need to test your blood sugar 15 to 30 minutes before exercising. So to exercise safely, you'll need to track your blood sugar before, during, and after physical activity. So it's important to do all three. So that will show you how your body is responding to the exercise, which can help you to prevent potentially dangerous low or high blood sugar fluctuations, okay? Because your blood sugar will change as you exercise. So here are some general guidelines for pre-exercise blood sugars. You want them to be actually, if it's lower than 100, I'm going to tell you guys don't exercise, because what's going to happen is you're going to start exercising and then they're going to drop and they're going to get into a danger zone. And we don't want to put you in that situation. I'm sure you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So if it's below 100, that's a no-go. If it's 100 to 125, you're good. You're set. Go ahead, exercise. If you are above 250, that's a caution area, okay? So your blood sugar may be too high to exercise safely. Before exercising, you need to test your urine for ketones. Those are substances that can make your body break down fat for energy. The presence of ketones indicates that your body doesn't have enough insulin to control your blood sugar. So when it's too high, you need to kind of throw up the red flag there and figure out why, and definitely get that taken care of, because it can be a very dangerous situation. I'm sure that you've heard that before. We don't want it to be that high, and definitely don't want to exercise, because that could cause more issues. So, as I said, you definitely don't want to exercise because you risk having ketoacidosis. And this is a serious complication of diabetes that needs immediate treatment. So instead of exercising, take measures, correct it, bring your blood sugars levels down, and wait until your ketone test indicates that you're good to go, that you don't have any ketones in your urine anymore. So most people cannot feel when they go into ketoacidosis. That's kind of scary. So it's important to be checking your blood sugars before working out, because if you're there already, we don't want you to proceed. So as I mentioned, your blood sugars may drop during exercise. They probably will drop during exercise. This could cause hypoglycemia. So if you are low to start, when you start exercising, you're probably going to run into some issues. I don't know about you, but there's been many times whenever I've started my exercise in the morning and I get shaky and I get disoriented and it doesn't feel good and I need to stop. So it may be a little bit difficult to test your blood sugars outdoors, but it is necessary until you learn how your blood sugars respond to exercise, because everybody's going to respond differently. And I wish that it was a one prescription for everybody, but it's not. So you really need to learn your body and learn how it responds to know what you can and can't do. So always bring a snack just in case. That's really, really important, because you know when if it dips down too low, you're going to need some pretty fast energy and some pretty fast sugar to help with that. So also, as you're working out, if you're planning to take a long walk, and it's going to be over 30 minutes, try to check it every 30 minutes, okay? We want to make sure to stay in the safe zone. So if you are exercising and you do feel like you've gone way too low, which would be 70 or lower, you probably know your own symptoms. Like I said, I get shaky, I get a little disoriented, I get lightheaded. In the past, I've gotten nauseous. So when you know that you've hit that low zone, apply the rule of 15. And Linda is really big on this, so she probably has talked to you about it. But what that rule of 15 is you have 15 grams of carbohydrates, and that will help to raise your blood sugar, but you need to wait for 15 minutes to check it. If it's still below 70 after 15 minutes, then have another serving of 15 grams of carbohydrates. And you need to repeat that until your blood sugar is at least 70. Now remember, anything under 100, we don't want to be working out, okay? So when you get back up to the 70, you're back in the good zone, but not the workout good zone. So just remember that. Just because you get it up to 70 back up doesn't mean you can go hit that workout again. You need to kind of take in consideration that maybe you need to finish your workout later. So after working out, the more strenuous your workout, the longer your blood sugar will be affected. So low blood sugar is possible even 4 to 8 hours after exercising. Again, keep a carbohydrate containing snack on hand just in case your blood sugar levels drop. Think about your patterns. So if there's a certain time of day that you feel hypoglycemic, then that is not a good time to be working out. Try to schedule your workouts 30 minutes after a meal. And be careful about working out first thing in the morning, because your blood sugars could already be low. So, exercise, a lot of people call it the E word, like, oh, it's a dirty word. We don't talk about exercising. I think it has a little bit of a bad rap there. Exercise actually releases feel-good hormones. So one of those hormones is called endorphins. I'm sure you've heard that before. So these feel-good hormones can actually block the feeling of pain. This is just an example. A 6-mile run can produce endorphins equivalent to 10 milligrams of morphine. Now, just to put that in context for you, people typically get 2 to 4 milligrams of morphine for maintenance of acute pain in ER. So the hormones that our body releases during exercise are very, very powerful. and we get them naturally. So that's a good thing. On that note, because you're producing pain blocking hormones as you're working out, I know for me, sometimes it's really easy to overdo it. And I don't know that I've overdone it until I go to walk up the stairs, or the next day I try to pick something up off the floor. And that simple tasks just become very, very hard to do. That's not the goal of exercising, guys. Exercise is to improve your quality of life. I think it gets called the E word because we don't monitor our intensity at the time of exercising because we have those pain blocker hormones coming in, and then we tend to overdo it, and then we're sore for the next 4 or 5 days, and nobody wants that. I mean, if I was that sore after every workout that I did, I'd probably stop working out. And that would be bad. So we're going to talk about intensity, but I also wanted to cover a couple of the other health benefits that exercise has. So it increases bone density. That's the strength training and resistance that it does that. It can reduce the risk of cancer. As I mentioned, it releases endorphins. So there's a movie out there, Legally Blonde, and I love it whenever she said, well, she couldn't have killed them. She works out. People who work out are happy. So that's where that comes from. You get the feel good, the happy hormones whenever you work out. It also, as I mentioned, produces pain blocking hormones. So those are just a couple of other reasons to be working out, other than the fact that it does help with your A1C, and it helps you process your sugar better. So there are a lot of different types and ways to exercise. I'm sure you probably do some things that could be considered exercise and you just don't call it exercise. You have to find your best fit. So if you hated gardening, yet you set an exercise goal of going out and pulling weeds for 30 minutes a day, you probably aren't going to enjoy your exercise. I do know people who like to pull weeds. I'm not one of them, but I do know that if I set that as my exercise goal, I'm going to fight that tooth and nail, and I'm going to come up with just about any reason that I can not to go out and do it. So it's important to find something that you enjoy. It's important to find something that you have easy access to. If I made it a goal to do 20 flights of stairs a day, but I only had access to 1 flight of stairs, that is not going to be as easy. I'm going to have to track going up and down that 1 flight of stairs 20 times. However, if I worked in an office building that had 10 flights of stairs, that would be a pretty easy goal, because then I'd just go up and down those flights of stairs twice in the day and I'd be done. So you also need to look at your intensity level, as we mentioned. Different intensity levels are different on your blood sugars. You need to be able to move. I can't say that enough. Nothing hurts my heart more than whenever I've had a workout with somebody and they come back the next time and they're like, I could not sit and stand from my chair for 4 days. That hurts my heart. You know, we don't ever want to get to that point. We are going for quality of life here. Not being able to move does not increase your quality of life. And you're probably moving less because you hurt so bad. Motion is lotion. I'm sure you've heard that before. When you move, your body feels better. Your joints feel better. So motion is lotion. We need to keep you moving. If you do too high of intensity and stop moving, we're going in the wrong direction. So as I mentioned, you've got those pain blocker hormones going that will keep you from kind of feeling pain during your workout. So that's a blessing and a curse, like I mentioned. There's one way that you can monitor your intensity level through that doesn't include checking in to see if you're in pain. One of it is the talk test. So I actually use this one all the time. And if you've ever had a trainer and they've come up and tried to talk to you while you're warming up on a treadmill or anything like that, you know, they do care about you and what you have to say, but they're probably checking to see how you're talking. So an example is if you are exercising on that treadmill, warming up moderately, then you can have a brief conversation. But if I had asked you to sing a song, you could not sing a song to me. So examples of that would be, let me mimic that for you. So today I was really excited because I get to talk to my uncle, and I haven't talked to him in like a week and a half. So you could see that I could hold a conversation with you. It was easy to follow, but I was noticeably taking breaths. It wasn't like me talking to you now. I had to stop and breathe and then finish the next sentence. So a couple of activities for this might be, again, remember this is different for everybody. So it might be walking at 3 miles per hour, water aerobics, tennis doubles, because you know you run less whenever you have that partner playing with you, ballroom dancing, or just general gardening. So vigorous exercise, and if you've not been exercising, I do not recommend that you start out here. Start out at moderate, and then whenever you feel ready, you can increase it. For the vigorous exercise, there's a lot less talking and a lot more breathing. So you should only be able to say just a few words without pausing for breath. I have a walking partner, and there are many times whenever we are in a conversation and we hit a hill and I have to put up a finger. And it's like, I'm going to finish this conversation with you, but I got to get up the hill first because I can't breathe. So that's more like what vigorous exercise is. Now, I could finish the conversation, but it would look something like this. I'm excited. I had talked to my uncle, and I hadn't talked to him for like a week. And it just was good. It was really good to talk to him. So you can see a clear difference between me talking during a moderate activity to me talking during a vigorous activity. And you know that if you can't even say that much, then you've reached the high vigorous activity. So a couple examples of this are the race walking, jogging, or running. Swimming laps, now that is swimming back and forth in the pool with a kickboard or just freestyle, however you swim. Tennis singles, because we're running all over the court at that stage. Aerobic dancing, or heavy gardening. So we're talking about digging or hoeing or something a lot more than just pulling a few weeds, okay? Which, don't downgrade that. Pulling weeds is hard. You need to try to get 30 minutes per day of moderate intensity exercise. Now, some of you may have just rolled your eyes because that sounds like a lot. I know we are busy, busy people, and sometimes making time for 30 minutes is really hard. So the good news is that you can break that up. If you need to do 3 10-minute sessions, you can do that. Let's say you're running errands that day, and you know you're going to stop by 6 different stores. So you just park at the back of the parking lot. If it takes you 5 minutes to get into the store and you're going at a moderate intensity walk, then you've just got 5 minutes of that exercise done. It's going to take you 5 more minutes to get back. You've hit your exercise. You go to 3 more stores like that, and you've hit your exercise for the day. So get creative about it. There's a lot of different ways to get your exercise in without, like I said, calling it exercise. So the Diabetes Aerobic and Resistance trial called DARE has shown aerobic and resistance training alone can reduce your hemoglobin A1C levels, while combined training leads to a greater reduction than either type in isolation. So those are a lot of big words that says that if you do cardio and strength training together, you're going to see better results. Now, cardio is anything that gets your heart rate up. So you walking from the back of the parking lot into the grocery store is probably going to be considered cardio. You climbing a set of stairs would be both cardio and strength training. So getting both in is going to help your A1C levels the most. There are different types of resistance training and strength training that you can do. And like I mentioned before, you need to find your own fit, find what works for you, find what you like. I know sometimes I introduce bands to people and they just do not like them. Other times people really, really like them and go out and get a set for themselves. So you have bands, you have free weights, you have the weight machines in gyms, swimming in a pool with the water, that creates resistance. So that's resistance training. You can also add weights in the pool too. And body weight exercises are really good too. So you don't have to have any fancy equipment. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, and I really, really hope that you've heard this. You naturally lose muscle with age. Some of you may say, duh, but after age 30, you lose as much as 3 to 5% of your muscle per decade. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you aren't actively trying to build your muscle, then you're losing it at a much higher rate. So this can lead to a lot of mobility issues. It can lead to falling. It can lead to you not having the quality of life that you desire for yourself. The earlier you start exercising, the better off you are. So more muscle equals better quality of life and lower A1C levels. Also in there is the flexibility and stretching. So that one's not to be underestimated. My youngest son just started football, and he went through the entire week without stretching, and that kid is hurting this week. So, you know, when you don't stretch, when those muscles are all tight and balled up, that you're run a much higher risk of hurting yourself and injuring yourself. So make sure that you stay stretched out and flexible. So there's one on there too called balance. So let's talk a little bit about balance. Now, I know that balance is big, and as we age, we lose balance. I'm sure all of you have heard that. So there are things that we can do to kind of safeguard against that. We do have a Study Your Stride coming up too. I don't know if Linda's talked to you about that, but they work a lot on balance with that and give you some additional moves. So for balance, I say there you have touch points. So if I have one hand on a wall and the other hand on the wall and my 2 feet are on the floor, then I have 4 touch points. So I'm stabilizing 4 different ways, okay? If I lift one hand off the wall, then I only have 3. If I lift another hand off the wall, then I only have 2, my 2 feet. So the higher that number, the more stable I am. And I bring that up because I have a couple of exercises for you. And depending on where you are with your balance and stability, you need to determine how many touch points you need, because we don't practice balance or any of that unless you're in a safe environment. So make sure that you're going to be safe no matter what. So for example, a side leg raise, and I'll give Linda the sheet so you guys can do it at home. The side leg raise. So if that person standing there only has 2 feet on the ground and they lift 1 foot up, they're losing 1 whole touch point and they're not going to be nearly as stable. But if the person doing the leg raises has 2 hands on a chair and then they lift a foot, they still have 3 touch points. So think about that whenever you're doing your exercise, and make sure you're working on your balance as you're doing it. You, instead of the death grip, You can do maybe lighter hands. And if that becomes easy, you can do fingers. And if that becomes easy, then you try one leg. So you can work up into it. Wall push-ups, those are really good for balance too. Sounds a little silly, but what this person is they have their toes up. So think of a flat foot. That's a big surface that's holding you. Now, if you lift up onto those toes, you've lost a lot of surface to keep you stable. So it makes you less stable, obviously. And doing the push-up, that's really good for your upper body strength. I don't know if it's happened to you yet, but rolling over in bed gets more and more difficult. So whatever we can do to keep that, things like that easier, that's what we want to do. Planks are really good for your core. Now, planks are a lot like a push-up, but you're not bending your arm. So make sure your hands are down more by your chest. We don't need the Superman plank, okay? Hands are down by your chest, and make sure that you've got your butt tucked in and you've really engaged that core. Again, that person is up on their toes, which means that they're less balanced than when their whole foot is on the ground, less stable, okay? So definitely take that into consideration. Now, for example, with that plank, if they were to put their whole foot on the ground, they would feel a pretty big stretch in the back of their legs. That can be a little too intense for some people. So that's why I have the toes in there, okay? If that doesn't work out, if it's too much, then you can walk your feet in closer to the wall and put your feet flat. If you do the wall plank and you're up on your toes and it is really, really easy, then you can move to the kitchen counter. If your hands on the kitchen counter makes it still way too easy, then put your hands in a chair. Make sure that chair is not going to move on you. If the chair is easy, you get to move to the floor to do your planks. So with all of these exercises I'm giving you, there's a way to increase the intensity of them. So if you do them and you're not up to that moderate intensity, you can increase it and make it a little bit more intense, or you can decrease it. So if you do it, you're more at the vigorous intensity level instead of the moderate, there's ways to decrease it as well. Calf raises are really, really good. So your calves do a lot for you to stabilize. You can decrease this one by not lifting up so high. You can increase it by standing on the edge of a stair. Make sure you're holding on when you do that. Chair sit-ups. I know people hate sit-ups, but our core is really, really important. So I hear all the time, I can't do a sit-up. Sure you can. We just do it a little bit differently. So you would sit in a chair without arms. I know we love the arms to our chair, but you need to sit in a chair without arms, scoot up to the edge of the chair. Now, here's the key for this one. The closer you are to the edge, the harder this is going to be. So if you want to scoot out in your chair about an inch and check it out, and if that's easy, just keep scooting forward. Do not scoot forward so far that you risk falling off the front of your seat. So I'm going to scoot to the edge of my seat, and then I'm going to sit as pretty and straight as I can. And then I'm just going to lean backwards, staying straight, and then I'm going to come forward. That's a sit-up. You should be able to feel that in your core. As I mentioned, I will give this handout to Linda, and she can send it out to you guys. Okay, so to close, embrace the E word, guys. The E word increases the quality of our life. It will help you with your A1Cs. It will keep you doing the things that you enjoy doing and the things that you love doing for longer. Vary your routine. So make sure you're not doing the same thing over and over again, because your muscles will get used to that and your body will get used to that. And then when you try to do something different, it'll be really, really hard, okay? So do different things. Again, make sure you get your strength training in there and your cardio in there. As I mentioned, you can do some things that are the 2-in-1. Swimming is a 2-in-1. It's resistance training as well as cardio. Yeah, stairs is the strength training and cardio. So find what works for you, do what works for you, and don't look back. So I want you to feel your very best, okay? Nobody ever regrets the workout that they did. They regret the workouts that they don't do. Think about that. We regret what we don't do whenever it comes to exercise. You got to get up and do it. If you find that you make excuses and reasons why you should not go and work out, make a list of those and make a list of things that you're going to tell yourself instead. Like, you know what? It's just way too hot out. I can't go out there and do a lap around the block. It's just way too hot. Well, no, but I can walk around in my house. There's a circle I can do right here, and I can set a timer and I can do that. Now, yeah, that's going to be a little bit more boring. So I should probably put on some music. Maybe I call somebody on the phone and I have a conversation while I'm doing it so that it's not so boring. My advice to you on that is make sure you switch directions too. So that's what I have for you guys. I really hope that you're able to take some of this information and, you know, get moving. So do we have any questions?
Great job, Shanna.
Thank
Man,
you.
that was excellent. You brought up so many different things. I just want to add a little bit, if you guys don't mind. You touched on ketones a little bit with exercise. If you have ketones in your urine, then they recommend not exercising. If they're moderate and large, you would want to contact the doctor. I do have a nice handout that I can send you guys about ketones that gives you a little more information. But as a general rule, if you have diabetes and you do have ketones in your urine, moderate or large, that is a life-threatening situation. Most of the time you will end up in the hospital. You can't avoid that. I want to say don't not report it to the doctor because it usually is a life-threatening event. So you will want to call your doctor, get immediate care so that they can take care of you. They have to do some IVs. They have to correct the glucose. There's several things that can only be done in the hospital. So keep that in mind. The carbs, Shanna talked about the rule of 15. I did email you all the get excited about exercise right before this program started. And in there on the third page, I don't think it looks quite like the booklet I have in my hand. So when it talks about rule of 15, it does give you example of the carbs that you want to eat or try. So you would use 15 grams of carbs is equal to 4 glucose tablets. And that is something I would recommend people that have real fluctuating blood sugars or they've been running higher in the past and they're trying to adjust it. It's a good thing to carry with you all. They can come in a little container. You can throw them in your purse. So that's something to think about. And then there's a glucose gel tube that you can get, or you can drink 4 ounces of fruit juice or a tablespoon of sugar or honey. So the choice when you're talking about trying to do the rule of 15, we want something really fast acting. We don't want, for example, if our blood sugar is low, we don't want to take peanut butter right away because that takes 30 or 40 minutes to break down. So you want something that's going to raise your blood sugar quickly because you're having experience in a low blood sugar. Once you get your blood sugar up to 70 or 100, whether you're exercising or not, once we get it up to that, we're treating it with a rule of 15. After you get to the desired blood sugar, then you might want to take a snack of protein or eat a meal if it's close to mealtime. That will keep your blood sugar up. I think that's one of the things we missed in that handout.
Linda, I want to point out that all those things that you just listed off in the rule of 15 are things that you can easily take along with you. So if you're planning on doing a longer walk or anything like that, you can take your monitor and you can take your glucose tabs or anything like that with you.
Exactly. And I think that was when we created that flyer, we were looking for things that would be real easy for exercise. So I wanted just to talk a bit about that. Someone had just chatted a message. Let's see here. My doctor has never discussed me checking my ketones. How do we check them? The easiest way is a urine test, and they come as little strips in a little round container, kind of like your glucose strips. So I think I might have a handout on that as well. I'll check it out. But basically, you take the little strip out. You dip the stick in your urine. You can urinate in a little plastic cup, or if you can catch it when you're urinating, just get the tip of that wet, and then you kind of gently. You don't really shake it, but you don't want it dripping everywhere. You might set it on a paper towel so you can wait. The vial itself for the ketone strips will tell you that you need to wait a certain amount of time. And then you look at the color on the end of the strip and you compare it to the, your container will have different colors, and it will tell you whether it's got small, medium, or small, moderate, or large amount of ketones in the urine. So we see this done mostly with people that have actual diabetes. Pre-diabetes isn't necessarily something you might see so often, but it's never a bad idea, you know, if you start having fluctuating sugars, to have that around to be able to check it. Hope that answers your question. Let's see here. One more thing, Shanna mentioned the Steady Your Stride event. That is an absolutely amazing event. We do it every year at the YMCA at North Kansas City. We may be alternating that periodically, but usually it's at the YMCA. It is September 25th. You would register online, and then once you get your confirmation email, then there's a spot that you click on and you get to set an appointment time. So it's not a walk-in event like it has been in the past due to COVID, but it's really a great event. We have physical therapy, occupational therapy there. You go from station to station. They will check your gait, how you walk. They'll check strength training or strength. They measure strength, and then they also do balance. And they talk about taking care of your feet. There's just all kinds of good little boosts that you go to. We also do blood pressure checks on that event. So to register for that, you guys would go to nkch.org/steady with a capital S. And if you have trouble registering, you guys can contact me and I can get you signed up. That event is starting to fill up pretty good. So if you guys are interested, you might want to do that. But it's a great event. We don't get to do a lot of things with physical therapy as far as health fairs. So this is usually a big one. We usually have, in the past, we've had as much as 120, 130 people. Now it's a little more limited because we have to be careful of the number of people we have in the area. And if you do register for that event and want to come, you will be required to bring a mask along with you as well. I think those are the things, Shanna, that I just wanted to address. You have several chats here. Are you looking at those, Shanna's, or you want me to?
Yeah, they're just talking to each other. How about anyone else? Do you guys, is there, and you can unmute yourself too, is there anyone that has found a certain way of working out works better for them? Like after lunch, or just slightly before lunch, or right before bed? Or, hey, this is a snack that I like to eat.
Hi, this is Rochelle.
Go ahead, Rochelle.
I walk, so my neighborhood has a lot of hills, so I get a lot of like back and forth with the endurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that my dog is my motivator. He's 11 years old and he's a diabetic and he's got a heart murmur, but you would think that he was like 5. So he really keeps me motivated. So that's my motivation, is my dog. That helps at least.
I love it. And that is so good for them. I love it. Okay. Somebody says, I prefer to work out as soon as I wake up. It works best for me. And you know, absolutely. Like I said, everybody is different. I wish that I could tell you that this is the way you do it. This is set in stone. Do this. But I can't, because you have to figure out what works for you.
Shannon, when do you like to work out?
Oh, I hate mornings. I hate it. The only way I worked out in the morning is when I had my walking partner. I don't like mornings though. So I like lunchtime or early evening. That's when I find also that I have the most energy, guys. So I know I'm not a morning person, and I'm not going to let down my walking partner. So that's my only motivation, but my energy is not at its highest at that time. And so now that I don't walk with her as much, I change my workout to my energy levels so that I know, okay, afternoon time, lunchtime is my energy level is pretty high. Sadly enough, at like 8 p.m. at night, my energy level is pretty high. So I know those are some pretty good times that I could go and do my workout and get the most out of it that I can.
Okay, awesome. I prefer early morning, and I like to swim. And I exercise when I swim. I, do a variety of different things with my arms and kick my feet and legs, and then I swim as well. And it just gives me energy for the whole day. But the thing I notice most about it is I feel like my core is really strong, and when I don't go and swim in the mornings, I just feel like slouching around, and my back's kind of hurting here and there if I turn just right. But when I do that exercise, man, I feel fit. I feel great. So that just the way I feel is my motivator.
And I mean, like you said, you've loosened up all of your muscles and you're not going to hurt yourself as much because you're not so tight.
Exactly. Any other questions out there? I don't see anything new. So I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation today. Shanna is always a pleasure. She does a great job giving us lots of good information.
Thank you.
I will send you guys the ketones flyer out, as well as Shanna's little exercise handout that she had. Next week, I believe we're talking about medications. And so I could talk endless hours on medication, but we'll keep it kind of controlled. I won't overdo it too much. I was going to ask if you guys would mind sending me an email just to let me know if you're on medications. So what medication you're on for diabetes. It may just be metformin, or if you're taking other medications as well. That way it'll kind of help me focus that what I talk about a little more specific to your all's medications. We don't have a ton of people actually in the class. We do have a lot of views after we post it on the internet, or the Facebook, or I'm sorry, on the internet later. We have a lot more people, but I can try to focus on what you guys take and make sure that I get you some good information for that. And then anybody that wants the foot exam, I can still do that if you will email me. I hope I didn't miss any emails. It is getting pretty crazy and busy. I do a lot of vaccinations for COVID and getting pulled to some other things. So if you guys send me a message and I don't respond, feel free to send me another one. I won't be offended at all. All right, you guys, we will see you next week, and have a great week. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Guys.